let's go straight over to the former royal editor of The Sun, Charlie Ray. Good evening, Charlie.
Good evening, Kevin.
Big story this week, a couple of days ago, possibly explaining, or a lot of people saying this is really why Meghan's not coming to the coronation. I think there are a number of reasons she's not coming. I do think one factor was she didn't fancy getting booed by the crowds. But here's another factor. Turns out that she wrote a letter to the King, he may have been Prince Charles at the time, in which she named this alleged member of the royal family who speculated on what colour her and Harry's son might be, the kid that turned out to be Archie. She said this was put forward as an example of racism. But she apparently wrote a letter to Charles outlining her fears that the royal family was afflicted by unconscious bias. That's the sort of system by which you're racist, but you don't know you're racist. And apparently she was very unhappy with his reply. And she remains in a bad mood about that. And that's one of the reasons she's not coming to the coronation.
You're partially right, Kevin. I mean, the letter that Meghan wrote came after the then Prince of Wales sent a letter to her because after the Oprah Winfrey interview, he was very concerned that the chasm between the two sides had now grown so much that he was trying to smooth troubled waters. Now, in reply, you're quite right, she said, and this person who was accused of being the racist or accused of unconscious bias was named in this letter. Now, amazingly, in her response to the then Prince of Wales, she and he both acknowledged that the individual's remark was not made with malice. Well, who was it that decided to make it up with malice? It was only her. She went on that Oprah Winfrey Show and made it absolutely clear that, you know, we have a racist royal family, we have a racist country. Now, and interestingly as well, she has now responded, and it'll be interesting to see if, because she's denying that she's leaked these letters, and it'll be interesting to see if she sues the King or Buckingham Palace. Remember, she's got form for suing newspapers for using various letters.
A lot of form.
Lots of form. The King, the Telegraph, and Buckingham Palace, accusing them of leaking a letter. Now, her mouthpiece, Omid Scobie, has tweeted her statement. Now, she's considered this and she's fed up with all the speculation about, you know, this is a reason why she's not coming. But she says the Duchess of Sussex is going about her life in the present, not thinking about correspondence from 2 years ago related to a conversation from 4 years ago. This is not a denial that there's a letter that exists. This is just saying she doesn't want to talk about it. I just think these two are determined in their usual way, as they have done over the last 2 or 3 years, to try and pour a bucket load over the royal family, over the coronation, even though Harry is going to have a ringside seat.
Now, I don't know Meghan Markle, thank God,
Yes.
but, you know, I've formed this impression of her that she's the kind of person, and this is what I think is relevant to the conversation we're having now. So she writes a letter saying, well, here you go, Charlie, you know, the unconscious bias, you know, the royal family is riven with unconscious bias, you know, you're all racist, but you don't know it. And he writes back a letter that I would imagine was defensive of the royal family, quite rightly. They're not racists. They may be many things, but the royal family are not racists. And by the way, speculating on the colour of a kid from mixed-race parents, I don't think is racist anyway. So he writes back a letter to her saying, thanks for your letter, but but I'm not entirely convinced that we do have a massive unconscious bias problem. She's the kind of person, if she writes to you and says, now, here's the situation, this is what you've done wrong, this is what's wrong with you. If you write back and say, well, Meghan, thanks, but no thanks, I don't accept what you're saying, that sends her into a rage. She is full of self-righteous self-belief and doesn't like to be contradicted, does she?
Well, I mean, clearly, Kevin, she is not satisfied, as has been made clear. She's not satisfied with what the King has said or the then Prince of Wales has said in his letter to her, and that is why it's given as a reason that she's not coming to the coronation. Look, she's got so many reasons for not coming to the coronation. You started off by saying she could well be booed. You're absolutely right. She could well be booed. It's Archie's birthday. That is, to me, a legitimate reason for her not being there. I mean, you don't want to upset a 4-year-old child, but she could have brought the kids over with her. They could have had both. They could have had the coronation and the party in London. It was that simple. It's not rocket science, so let's be honest about it. And what a great treat for his 4th birthday to watch his granddad being crowned. He may not understand it all, but he will remember that day, and he will be told what it was, what it meant. That is a fantastic occasion for him to have been there. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he might not quite understand what's going on around him, but at the age of 4, but at the age of 24, he'd love to say I was there. At the age of sort of 84, it'll be a hell of a thing to say.
Sure.
Let's talk about the coronation and some of the people who are going and some of the people who aren't. I'm not a fan. I don't love Fergie, obviously. She's a disaster most of the time. It's not the point. Although she's done a lot to harm the royal family, she's never done it on purpose. She's a bit of a bull in a china shop. She's made mistakes. But I think she should have been invited to the coronation. She says that the reason I haven't been is because I'm divorced from Prince Andrew, which would beg the question, why is Andrew Parker Bowles being invited? He's divorced from Queen Camilla.
I think it's wrong that Fergie's not been invited to the coronation, and she was actually invited at Christmas to the actual official royal family Christmas Day celebrations. Not spending it as we used to describe it in the outhouse for all those years, and the Queen used to pop down and see her because Prince Philip wouldn't have her in the big house and all that sort of stuff. So she's sort of been brought back into the family in itself, even though she has been divorced from Andrew. She still lives with him at Windsor Great Lodge. And you're absolutely right. You've now got Camilla's former husband has now been invited. Now, he's been invited because it's the couple's grandchildren who are going to be there involved in the actual coronation, which would be nice for him to see as a granddad and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, you can't have one rule for one rule for another of this sort of thing. And I'm sure, I can't believe there's not going to be more than one divorced person at the coronation.
Yeah, well, of course, Fergie also this week came up with one of her traditional kind of support messages about Prince Andrew, where she said he's a really good man, he's a great man. It's like, no, he's not, Fergie. No, you got this wrong. You've got this wrong. However, that's the point about Fergie. She always gets everything wrong.
She does fight a few lost causes, and this is one of them.
Yeah, as I say, she's been a disaster, but never a nasty disaster.
No,
she makes mistakes. She's a good-hearted soul. She's just a bit of an idiot.
She is, and she has tried hard, while she's been out of the royal family, to get her act together, and she's been quite successful. Let's not forget, she's raised 2 fine young ladies as well, as divorced parents. Both Eugenie and Beatrice, have made their own way in life, and they've got families of their own. They're now, granddad and grandmother. Yeah,
as I say, I think she should have been invited. I think the fact she hasn't been invited is a bit of a nasty little snub. But of course, this is what I want to talk about now, Charlie. It's a kind of bed that Charles has made for himself, and now he's got to lie on it. So he's announced that I'm going to slim down. this coronation. And the congregation, unlike my mother's in 1953, where the congregation was 8,000 and the procession was about 300 miles long through a very rainy London, it's going to be a much shorter procession and a much smaller ceremony, only 2,000 going. So apparently the King now spends several hours a day sitting at his desk writing apology notes to people he hasn't been able to invite. I don't know why he's slimmed this down. I mean, I don't
understand. I don't understand either, Kevin. I mean, one of the people, he has in effect snubbed is one of his mother's own bridesmaids,
Lady Pamela Hicks.
Lady Pamela Hicks. She's not coming, and she's making a big play of saying no, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to be at Buckingham Palace the night before and everything else. So she's going to get a little bit, as is Fergie's going to be at the concert on Sunday, so they're all going to get little bits and bobs as well. I mean, this is, you're right, slimmed down coronation. Queen's coronation, 45,000 troops were involved in that coronation. We've got 6,000, partly because we haven't got many troops.
We've got 45,000 people left in the army. Come on.
No, so we got 6,000 troops, who are going to be actually physically involved, lining the route, escorting both carriages there and back again. So it's going to be, really is, and it's going to be. I think the coronation procession is less than 5. It's a couple of miles in effect, to the Abbey and then back again.
I think this, Charlie, right? You and I have talked about this before. I think the clue is in the word majesty. That's what the royal family should be about. And this should be a majestic occasion. And, I get what Charles is thinking. He's thinking, cost of living crisis, people struggling to get by. If I put on a massive, great, lavish display of wealth, it won't go down well. But trust me, people aren't going to go, only 2,000 people in the congregation, only 6,000 in the procession. Wow, this is a very small event. They won't, will they? No, he's really going down the wrong path here.
The people who are going to complain,
are going to complain anyway.
They're going to complain anyway. Exactly. So I mean, we're going to have the complainers at Trafalgar Square, jumping up and down in their yellow T-shirts and everything else. And the other point of it is the procession for the Queen was much longer. It went down the embankment, which meant more people were able to line the streets. You're going to get this log jam of people, all the way down to the Abbey. And, I think there's a bit of concern as to why, you've cut the route down that much, because so many people want to be involved, want to see the King, want to see this fantastic celebration that we're about to have in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. I think he's got this wrong, but we still wish him well, and we hope that it's a great day of national celebration. Last quick question to you. Another thing that we've discussed, this strange apparent apathy about the coronation, that for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, there were 16,000 applications for street parties all around the country. Yeah. For the coronation, there's been 243. Now we think, is that because Charles is boring? Nobody cares about Camilla? That would be what I might have speculated for. But I think, in fairness, it turns out that killjoy councils are demanding so many health and safety measures. For example, if you want to have a street party, you have to get a signature from everyone in the street to say that they approve of the party. Yeah. So there are so many of these petty rules and regulations that a street party or a celebration in your street or your house has become a bureaucratic nightmare. So once again, it's the town hall tyrants, I think, we might be able to blame.
And now you've got some councils who are actually saying to people, this is nanny state Britain and health and safety, you cannot have a picnic and because of safety measures. So since when has an egg sandwich and a vol au vent become a safety problem? It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if I were like normal people going out for a picnic, I would say, stuff them. I'm taking me picnic little hamper, and I'm going to sit on the grass on a blanket with me transistor radio or me transistor TV, watch it online and everything else, and sod the councils.
Yeah, have a street party anyway. And what are you going to do about it? Absolutely agree. Charlie, great to talk to you. Let's do it again next week. That was excellent from Charlie Ray, former Sun Royal editor.